Narrative tension. How do you build up that heat? We want our reader to turn those pages and not be able to sleep. Well, first step is we have to love your character. If we don't love your character, forget it. That's your biggest job. You have to make us care what happens to this character. We're going to look at Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber. Fabulous use of tension. We're going to look at some very specific tension tools. The first is the hook. You got to pull in that reader somehow. We have a fabulous hook in the prologue and in the beginning of chapter 1. So we're going to look at both. The bell hanging outside the curiosity shop knew the human was troubled from the way he moved through the door. All right, that pulls us in right away. Personification of a bell. A human is trouble. What's going to happen? So we keep reading. A little further down, we get another important tension tool, foreshadowing, where you say, yep, danger's coming. Watch out. This young man was going to ruin the girl that worked inside the shop. Okay, so now we're worried about her. Now we're in chapter 1, and what we get are seeing questions. That's where you plant a question in the reader's mind, and they have to keep reading because they want to find out the answer. In the first page of this chapter, we have constant questions, and then they're answered, and then a new question, and then it's answered. Let's look at the hook. Evangeline shoved the 2-week-old newsprint into the pocket of her flowered skirt. Okay, so what are you wondering? Why is she carrying around a 2-week-old newsprint? The door at the end of this decrepit alley was barely taller than she was and hidden behind a rusted metal grate instead of covered in beautiful blood-red paint. But she would have bet her father's curiosity shop that this was the missing door. All right, so our question is it the missing door? And why are you looking for a missing door? And what is the question that's answered? Who is this girl? Oh, she's the girl from the curiosity shop. She's the one whose heart's been broken. Nothing in the temple district was this unattractive. Right away, we're wondering why. Every entry here was carved panels, decorative architraves, glass awnings, and gilded keyholes. Her father had been a man of faith, but he used to say that the churches here were like vampires. Like vampires? I'm definitely going to keep reading. Churches like vampires? Why? They weren't meant for worship. They were designed to entice and entrap. So we know this is kind of a magical world, but this door was different. Now I'm wondering how? This door was just a rough block of wood with a missing handle and chipped white paint. This door did not want to be found. Yet it couldn't hide what it truly was from Evangeline. The jagged shape of it was unmistakable. One side was a sloping curve, the other a serrated slash, forming one half of a broken heart, a symbol of the faded Prince of Hearts. Finally. All right. So I'm wondering, why is she looking for the Prince of Hearts? Turns out that guy did break her heart. He's going to marry her stepsister, and she's not too happy about it. She wants to stop the wedding. It's happening today, so she's got to get the Prince of Hearts. Very last minute thing. She's been looking for 2 weeks, but today's the wedding, so we have a time pressure. That's great for tension too. Can you add a time pressure element to your story? Some kind of deadline. She convinces the Prince of Hearts to stop the wedding, but then he gives her this decision. All right, I can stop the wedding, but you owe me 3 kisses. And you have to kiss whoever I say when I say. That's a tough decision. So she kind of brews over it, and she asks him some more questions to be pretty clear. She knows he's tricky. Make sure you give your character tough decisions. Should I do that or should I do that? Should I go toward the angry bear or should I walk toward the killer bees? She hesitates, but finally she agrees. Something like victory glimmered in Jack's eyes. Then he captured her wrist and brought it up to his cold mouth. All right, so he's got this look of victory. She notices it. The reader notices, and we're like, oh no, stop. But it's too late. After he leaves, she tries to chase after him. But of course, this magical church doesn't let her follow him. No. The door then pushes her out into an entirely different area of the city. She's got to sprint through, and she's got this time limit. Well, she's too late, of course. In every scene, you need to be clear about what the goal is for your main character, and then you throw a bunch of obstacles and complications in the way. This is an example of that. If she'd been in an ordinary church, she might have caught up with him quickly. But this was a fated church, protected by a magic door that seemed to possess a mind of its own. When she opened it, the door did not return her to the temple district. It spat her out in a musty old apothecary, full of floating dust, empty bottles, and ticking clocks. Tick-tock, tick-tock, tick-tock. All right, so we got the ticking clock. And now another key device of tension is to add a twist, a reveal, a shock. We're expecting something weird's going to happen. Maybe he'll stop the wedding, but then she'll have to kiss someone at the wedding. Like, we don't really know, but we are not expecting what's going to happen. She arrives and everyone at the wedding's been changed into stone statues. So that's one way to stop a wedding. Remember to build your scenes in such a way that we got to keep reading. You need a hook. You need scene questions to push the reader through. You need tough decisions so that the reader buys in and we want to participate. No, don't do that. Go that way. You need foreshadowing, so we know danger is a-coming. A deadline or a time restriction is really good for tension. And finally, you need a shock, a twist, a reveal. Surprise the reader. Okay, good luck. Bye-bye.